guys, so I have been meaning to challenge myself to read a few books that are out of my comfort zone. One of those books are classics. I have never been a very big fan of classics, mainly because I haven't read a lot of classics. The only kind of classic books that I'm familiar with are the books that I have read in school. So I read Julius Caesar, I read Rime of the Ancient Mariner, that was in my curriculum. I also read a few Hindi works by Prem Chand and by Rabindranath Tagore, but I have never picked up a book on my own. So I wanted to change that. I wanted to challenge myself because I actually have a lot of classics in my book collection, but I've never seemed to reach out for them because I have never felt that love. So I wanted to challenge myself to read only classics for a month and see if that can, awaken a love in me. So let's get into the video. So I basically went into my bookshelf. I just went to my bookshelves and I pulled out all the classics that I had. And I had a lot of classics. But I wanted to bring down the number a little bit because I was scared. Reading classics is not an easy thing. The text is very heavy, the language is very difficult, so I wanted to start a little bit slow. I pulled out some of the books which were not very lengthy because I knew if the text is going to be heavy, if the content is going to be heavy, I'm just going to eventually leave it and not enjoy it. So I wanted to pick up the books which were not very lengthy so that I can finish them off and also feel a sense of accomplishment, if that makes any sense. So these are some of the books that I shortlisted. The first one is The Old Man and the Sea. Then I read Animal Farm. Then I read Metamorphosis. Then I read The Prophet. Then I read some selected short stories by Rabindranath Tagore. And then finally I tried my hand at The Art of War. Now the reason why I picked up all of these books was because they are not very thick. Like you can see, they are very thin and there are also considerable number of them. So I thought that if I'm able to go through all of them, I'm able to accomplish all of them, I will feel, I will know what kind of books I enjoy. I will know that I enjoy classics and I won't hesitate to pick them up in future. Now as you can see, these are definitely picked up in a certain way. I wanted to pick up something by Indian authors, so that is why I have Rabindranath Tagore, something that I'm familiar with. Some of the stories and backdrop could be something that I'm familiar with, and that is why I picked up Rabindranath Tagore. I picked up Old Man and the Sea because this is very short, very small. This is just 100 pages. And I've heard a lot about this. That's why I picked this one up. Then I picked up Animal Farm because I've recently read Poonachi and many people compared it with Animal Farm, and I wanted to see whether it is similar, whether it is not. And since I enjoyed Poonachi a lot, I thought maybe I will enjoy this as well. Then I picked up Metamorphosis. I really enjoyed the context of this book, and I thought this is something that probably will keep me glued to the story, keep me captured in the story, and that is why. Then I picked up some poetry because I wanted to see if I enjoyed some sort of classical poet sort of stuff. That is why I picked up this one. And finally, Art of War, I wanted to go a little bit non-fiction. I wanted to read something which is not exactly fiction. I'm not even sure if you'll call this a classic, but it's a really old book. So I was like, you know what, let's just try it. So yeah. So the first one is Old Man and the Sea, and I really enjoyed it. When I started reading this book, initially it was a little bit difficult for me. It took me around 20 to 25 pages in to start actually enjoying the story, and that said a lot because this is just a 100 pages book. So if I need to invest 20 to 25 pages to actually start enjoying the story, I did not like that. I was like, you know what, I'm not sure if this is meant for me. But once I went those 20-25 pages, those 70-75 pages, I do not know where they went, how I read them, because I loved them. I loved the story, I loved the premise, I loved the message that this book gave me to persevere, to see how much bad things can go, but you can still move on. You can still find that silver lining, and even if everything seems to be going against you and nothing seems to be going right, you still have to move on. You should move on, because I don't know, that's what life is. And that is why I really liked the book. I highly recommend it. The next book that I read was Animal Farm. Now I was very interested to read this. I thought if I'm able to go through this I should be able to go through this as well. So Animal Farm was a ride for me. I did not expect the book to be so political and so I don't know. It was so political. It was very interesting. It was very enjoyable for me to see how people can be manipulated by the other people in power. So that was one aspect that I really enjoyed, and I did enjoy this book, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely a lot. This is something that will blow your mind, that you will enjoy or you will completely hate. But there is one thing that I will say. People were comparing this to Punachi. I don't think they are similar. I think they are very different books. Only the way it is written, you can compare it to Punachi and say that they're similar. Otherwise, they are very different books. Till now, I read 2 books and I seem to enjoy the classics so far. Are they even considered classic? I'm not sure. They're the classics for me. Next, I picked up Apophysis, again a short read. It was also, I think, 100 pages. So, I was intrigued by the premise of this book. Apparently, one morning when Gregor Semsa woke up from troubled dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a horrible woman. Now, clearly, this is not something that you will take at face value. That means the story actually means something else. Because when he turned into, I imagined him to turn into a cockroach kind of thing, right? I don't know what, if you have read this book, tell me what kind of animal you were imagining him to be. But I imagined him to turn into a cockroach. But it was very sad. It was such a sad book. I did not expect it to be so sad. It had so many undertones of depression and rejection and not fitting into the society. It really bothered me. I don't know, man. This is a sad book. I felt very bad reading it. I felt very depressed reading it. So that's it. It's not a bad book. It's a good book, because I actually went and googled a lot of stuff once I was done reading it. I wanted to read more about the author. I wanted to know why he wrote something like this, and how his life was, how much of personal experience can I get from it, and there is a lot. So yeah, that explains how beautifully and how close to reality this is. Although you might find it very strange that a person cannot turn into a woman, but the tones were so close to reality that I really enjoyed it. But I was also very sad after reading it. So till now I read 3 books, and I can say that although it took me a little bit longer than I expected to read them, I think it took me about 12 to 14 days to get through these 3 books, and that was maybe because the text was very heavy. Although it's not very lengthy, but the text is very heavy, and I think it was a good decision, good thinking on my part not to pick up very thick, very long stuff, because otherwise I would have just left them, abandoned them. But I was still able to get through them, and whether I loved it or whether it made me sad, but I still enjoyed reading it, because the literature is really good, the way the books are written is really good, and I love the fact how close to reality these books are. So I picked up this book and things kind of got downhill because I did not enjoy it. I don't know why. Lot of the stuff in this book is poetry based. And apparently, I do not enjoy poetry yet. I don't know why. I got bored. I think I read about 19 pages. This is where my bookmark is. And I don't know if it is the poetry or if it is this style of poetry, or whether it was just particularly this book. But I did not enjoy it. I couldn't go further than these 19 pages. So I thought that I'll give it a break. I'll put a break on this book. Maybe I'll pick it up once I'm feeling better. So I put a break on it. And then I didn't want to pick it up. I was like, hell no. I'm not picking that book up. I felt scared of this. I was like, you know what? No, I don't know. It evoked very weird, strange feelings in me, but I didn't want to pick it up. So I thought that maybe if a book is something which I'm dreading to pick up, that's not the kind of book for me. I shouldn't feel that way for reading any sort of texts. So this is what I think I'll suggest to you guys as well. If you find that you do not like reading a particular kind of writing, no matter how much people tell you that it's great, no matter how much people tell you that that is one book that you need to read before you die, or you're not a good reader if you do not pick up that book, don't listen to them. You don't have to torture yourself. Maybe after a few years you reach that state of your mind, or you gather that kind of experience that you're able to pick up that book again, which might happen with me as well. Maybe in 2 years I'll pick it up again. I'm not throwing it away. It's going to be in my collection because it's one of the best books ever, but I did not enjoy reading it yet. So that is why I decided I'm going to not read it because I don't like it yet, and maybe I'll like it sometime in future, but not yet. So it's going back in my collection. I have it in my mind. Maybe I'll do another month of reading just poetry, and maybe I'll explore whether it is poetry that I don't like or whether it was just this book. But yeah, let me know if you want me to do that, and I'll be very happy to do it. But I was very excited to pick up the next book because I knew I'll enjoy it, and that was Selected Short Stories by Rabindranath Tagore. Now, I love this book. I absolutely loved it, and I did a very new thing with it because when I started reading The Prophet, it was around 15th or 16th, and the things got very downhill from there. So I think it was around 18th or 19th when I picked up Short Stories by Rabindranath Tagore, and there are exactly 12 stories in this, and I decided that I want to read one story every day. So I started on 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23, up till the end of the month. I read one story every day, and the stories are so good. I never read any of these stories before, and it's very sad. I wish more of these stories were in our curriculum, but I absolutely loved this book. My favorite story out of all of these was, of course, Kabuliwala, because I mean, my childhood. That book was definitely part of our curriculum, and I enjoyed Kabuliwala reading it again. And surprisingly, I discovered that I remembered Kabuliwala very different than what it actually is. Is this like Mandela effect or what? I don't know, but I still enjoy it nevertheless, because yes, I was familiar with the characters, I was familiar with the story, but I truly enjoyed it. The other story that I enjoyed out of it was My Lord the Baby. Hold on, is it the same story which I think it is? Let me check. Yes, Raichand. My Lord the Baby. I think that is another story which was so heart touching, which was so sad, but so nice and so well written. I truly enjoyed this book. I think this might be my favorite read out of all of these. But yeah, so yes, this was a complete hit, and it completely took me back into reading again. All that bad phase which I went through, this completely got me back on track with this, and I was back into my reading mode, and I was able to like finish everything up, and I was reading even more. In fact, only one book was left, and I was like, you know what, I can pick up even other books. So I picked up another Daniel Steele book, and I read that also in this month, which was very strange. I thought that I'll be so caught up in classics, I won't be able to pick up any, but I did pick up Daniel Steele. I read that book, Irresistible Forces. Yeah, that's what the book is called. Let me know if you want to know my opinion on Daniel Steele. I'll be very happy to make that video. But the last and the final book that I read was The Art of War. Now, well, this was another fail for me. Now you will be surprised because I did, again, I went only 20 pages in, which is very strange. I think I went 21 pages in, but I was just not able to go ahead of it. So you'll be surprised because I actually tried listening to an audiobook as well, because I tried to read it first. There were a lot of things that I just couldn't understand. I'm being very honest, I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the room, and I'll be upfront with you if I tell you that I did not understand a lot of things, because of which I think I did not enjoy the story a lot. There were a lot of stuff related to war. I thought that I've seen enough of Game of Thrones that I'll be able to understand it, but apparently not. I was wrong. So there were a lot of things which I couldn't understand. There were a lot of references about the war, about the military, about the people, commanders, stuff. And I couldn't understand it, because of which, plus on top of it, it is non-fiction. If it was a kind of a fantasy, maybe I would have continued reading it, but it was non-fiction, so everything is about facts, and I couldn't understand the facts. So this kind of went downhill for me. I thought I'll enjoy it. There might be some very, very cool, teachings in this. Unfortunately, there are many cool teachings in this. I just couldn't understand them. Maybe again with the Prophet, maybe these are two books that I'll pick up further in future, and maybe I'm able to enjoy them more than I enjoyed them now, which was not a lot. So yeah, this was my month of reading only classics, and I must say the experience was not bad. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out of 6 books that I read, only 2 of them were the ones which I did not seem to enjoy, and that might be particularly not because they are classics, but because I just couldn't understand them. So that kind of explains to me that I like classics. Classics are the kind of books that I might be able to get into, and those are not the kind of books that are maybe too heavy for me. I might have to ease myself into them, and this is what I'll suggest to you as well. If you're wanting to try a new genre, do not pick up the most heavy, the most thick looking books. Try to pick up the books which are maybe not that long, which are maybe 100 pages, 150 pages, or maybe even 200 pages, and also read the premise, read the blurb, see what blurb is most interesting to you, and if that blurb sounds interesting to you, there is a high chance you'll be able to finish the book. For example, this happened with me with Metamorphosis. If I was not interested in the premise of this, maybe I wouldn't been able to finish the book because it was so sad and depressing. But because I was interested and in the premise, and that is why I was able to finish it. So yeah, I would say that this month was a success. I highly encourage you guys to take up this challenge with any sort of genres that you don't particularly enjoy a lot, or maybe the one which you haven't read a lot. For example, if you have not read a lot of poetry, I highly recommend you to pick up 3 or 4 poetry books and not have any other books around you. Just read those books, because if you keep your favorite book and one of the genres which you don't particularly enjoy a lot, obviously you're going to pick up your favorite book. Nobody wants to put in effort. But I would highly suggest you to pick up any book or any genre, or maybe even classics. Pick up a few classics along with me. Classics are very easily available as ebooks as well, which you might be able to read. Ow, there's hair in my eye. I don't know where it is. I can't feel it. Oh God, where are you? Get away. Anyways, so yeah, I am very excited to read these classics. I have a few more classics, a little bit more thicker ones, which I want to read further. So I think there will be a second part to this video. Definitely there will be a second part to this video, but maybe not yet. Maybe I should read more poetry, or maybe I should read more crime or stuff. Tell me what genres you want me to explore, and I'll be very happy to do that. Like always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below telling me what kind of videos you like me to make, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.